Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Had an idea for potentially a series, but it's also quite a lot of work, so I'm not sure whether it will turn into a series, but I'm going to try it as an experimental episode. But yeah, so the main concept is find a brand on Instagram, build them a full brand package, show you guys my process, and yeah, let's see what happens. So first things first, we're going to jump onto Instagram and see if we can find a brand. So let's get the old phone out and have a look-sees. So there was a group of people that I found the other day that I thought might be a good fit, and it's the UK Surf Show. They're a podcast. They're a surfing podcast, the show that makes you want to surf. Podcast chats from the UK surf scene with the odd international guest. Search the UK Surf Show on all platforms. So they've got like a little podcast going on. The branding's pretty cool, you know. Do a cheeky screen record to get that. Yeah, they've got a pretty cool brand. They've got some good colours, but I think what we could do is make it a little bit more fun because they seem to be a lively bunch. I definitely think we can develop it a bit more. So I'm going to jump into sketch mode. One of the things I like to do with everything, again, music, film, photography, graphic design, is to use analog processes. So this is a lino cut print, and that's why it's backwards, because when I cut it, I wasn't thinking I needed to mirror it to print it. As a designer, as someone who works inside the computer, it's really good to get outside and learn different techniques to really inspire just different approaches. I think inside the computer we have far too many options, and so that often leads us to decision fatigue, and we can't find a way forward, and that can be really damaging to the process. So again, that's why this sketching is such a good thing. So normally when it comes time to sketching, I've got like a printed sheet or a document that has all the sort of keywords and ideas that I'm going to be working on. But because we're going in blind, I'm just making a few assumptions based upon the content that they've put out there. So UK Surf Show, podcast, surfboard, TV, interview, camera, seagull with a camera. Thought that'd be fun. Wave, beaches. Get them written out, start sketching. So right, we've got some sketches down. So just to give you an evolution of this sketching and how it started, the first very simple drawing was this one up here. Just a little TV with a wave in it. I was like, so after my keywords, you know, it's like, well, we'll go with TV, get the wave in. And so little TV with a wave, it's like, got something. Then it's like first iteration, it's like, well, let's turn this TV into a bit of a character. Let's turn the TV legs into real legs. Let's give him a little surfboard. Let's have him throw in a shaka. And then the next iteration, it's like, oh, I'll bring the eyes into the TV, see if that works. And you can see how rough these sketches are. It's like, oh, I'll try it with one eye could be like a record, and the other eye could be a play, you know, and it's like, that's not quite working, but again, just throwing it in there, trying something different, it hasn't worked, moved immediately on, right, different type of surfboard, thinner arms, moved on, come down to this tiny guy down here, and he's on a surfboard. This guy's then actually on a surfboard going crazy, and I'm starting to really think, okay, we've got something with this, which leads me on to here, where I start refining it a lot more. Tried again, made him, got the surfboard, gave him the peace signs because I thought that's a bit more British, but then I thought, if you're going surfing, you're not going to have trainers on. So I thought, okay, we need to scrap the trainers. So it's like, oh, little booties again, that didn't work. I do like this guy's a bit cutesy, but I thought, oh, actually, we'll turn the surfboard from a sort of long board into a more high-performance sort of board. Tried on this one, looks like he's got a banana, hasn't worked very well. Again, on this one, I didn't get the tail right, but we're really getting somewhere. He's got like the black wetsuit legs, he's got like the leash, which is also the plug into the back of the TV. He's got like the aerial on his head, and his eyes were really working. And then up here is the one that I was like, like this is the one we're going to take into the computer. We've got the legs working, we've got the leash, we've got good sort of proportions on the board, I think. Like, well, a really good starting place anyway. So this is the guy that we're going to take into the computer and we're going to work on. Some people scan their images in. I just take a simple phone photo of my character. Going to take a couple of the references because I might decide I prefer the eyes on someone, or I prefer the shape of the TV on someone. Like, he's quite a good TV. So snap some references. The other thing you might notice is like some of these logos might work for different versions of it. So like a favicon on your website. Anyway, we're going to pull it into the computer now. We're going to open up Illustrator and start vectorizing it and refining the design. So let's get to work. Open up a new Illustrator file. Get it started. Alright, so I've got my photos. I'm just going to fire these across. Again, once you've got them into Illustrator, there's obviously loads of different tutorials on how you can vectorize them. You can use your pen tool, go around them. I prefer to use a bit of a mixture. I like to start with the brush tool, purely because you might get some, what's his name, Bob Ross. You might get some Bob Ross happy accidents. I do like using tools that present the opportunity to make slight mistakes that could just give a bit of character to the image. Got my artboard set up here. Let's bring in some reference images. Got my little references. Like everything, it's always sensible to name your layers. I don't always do this, like most people. But for the sake of it being a video and me being scrutinized, I'm going to name this layer just references. And I'll keep them all in this layer so I can turn them on and off as and when I need them. References. Who are we going to start with? Do like you, but you're not quite right. And the other problem, I've got a 10-year-old Mac, so it can be pretty slow. Right, so I'm going to drop him in, center screen, size him up, nice solid reference there. Going to drop the opacity. I'm going to move my headphones because they're annoying me. Going to drop the opacity, and then I'm going to lock those layers. And again, I'm always interested in learning new workflows. So if any of you Adobe Illustrator pros out there are like, whoa, Ed, you could be doing that so much better or so much quicker or so much easier. Why are you taking this long-winded route? It's like, I am open to learning. One of the things I think that's really important in doing anything like this, anything creative, it doesn't matter how you achieve the goal as long as you achieve the goal. But if there are better workflows that can be shared, it's like way open to learning. So what you can do is obviously you can just use the pen tool and go around making your marks, and as I said earlier, that is a good way of doing it. Why I like using the brush tool is you can, a bit like the sketching, you can just start drawing lines and getting a feel for the shapes and be like, do I like that? You know, instead of being so sort of tied into the pen and the path, it's like working with the shapes that you've got, but also exploring other shapes, you know, maybe thickening something off as you can, and you can just make these really quick sort of, again, iterations to the design just as you're getting started. And so yeah, I just prefer it that way, particularly on like sort of fun little designs like this where accuracy isn't as important. And Bunty's about to bring a cup of tea in. Thank you so much. No. Cup of tea. Where accuracy isn't important in the same way as it might be in sort of like a really high fidelity logo. So for this, you know, I'm just starting to bring out the shape. I'll be interested to see what people make of this sort of workflow, whether it's what a lot of people do or whether they frown upon it and they're like, why are you doing such a ridiculous thing? But sort of the way I like it. It's funny because I'm filming, I have this real sense of I need to do something profound and get it really, really right, which is totally not the case and not how I work. Like anything, it's the result that matters. You know, we're just talking about workflows, and workflow is obviously great and helpful, particularly in high pressure situations where you need to repeat tasks in a certain way. But when you have the freedom of a project like this, but when you have the freedom of time, exploration is how you're going to uncover, again, happy accidents, new things, new styles, and hopefully create something a bit more unique. But I'm not anti-workflow at all. And I think maybe people watching will be like, but what about all the mistakes you're making? One of the things I've found in digital art compared to analog art is the mistakes really help develop character. And so when I was first into photography, I had it was a Nikon D50. And so I had that for many years. And when I got my high-end professional camera, it was a Nikon D4. It was just too perfect. The photos that it produced were too perfect. And in that perfection, there was a lot of what I felt was like a loss of character that the cheap old camera had. It had this character about it. And I think that's what people talk about when they talk about analog and film photography. The imperfections are what give it its character. And so the same in this sort of design work. I'm really not afraid of the imperfections, and I welcome the imperfections because I think that gives the design a bit of character and a bit of uniqueness. As you're watching, there will be mistakes that I'll leave, and then I'll go and refine like mistakes that I think are detrimental to the image. But I'll also leave some in that I feel maybe just give it a bit of character. Happy little accidents, as Bob Ross would say. I hope you guys know who Bob Ross is. He was a pretty cool guy. So the other good advice is to stick with black and white, particularly to begin with. Don't go jumping into colours immediately. It gives you a real sense of how the image looks in both black and white, obviously, and the limitation will just help you make simpler decisions. So I've hit an interesting snag, which is his hand. I'm not particularly happy with the hand that I even sketched. Sometimes you might want to look at some of your other references. I'm just having fun. Right, so we have something. Chucked off the reference. First sort of go over with the line work. There he is. Still not happy with that hand. That needs a bit of work on. And there's obviously a few little, like that bump I'm happy with, like that. But there's a few little bits like down here where a bit of neatening up, but I like the surfboard. I like sort of the thickness of some of the lines now. And so what I'm going to do now is just, without the reference behind it sort of distracting me, chip away a little bit. But yeah, that hand needs sorting out. The difficulty with this image is having the thought sort of crossover thumb sort of action and being able to make that stand out. That might just help with the proportions. Get a little reference. Boom. I think what I've done is I've drawn the thumb on the wrong side. That's what I've done. Yeah. So that it happens in the sketch. The thumb was on the wrong side the whole time. And because you're in that sort of sketch mode, you're not thinking about the fine details. But now that I'm sat here looking at it, that already, even though it doesn't look perfect, looks better. Hello! And so there he is. Job done, I think. Yeah, really happy with him. It's a cool, simple little vector. Shh. Something rude. He's fun, which the show seems to be. He's fun, the show's fun. Peace hands, I thought that was more British than the sort of traditional sort of shaka. Whoo, hang loose, dude, sort of thing. I like his little shortboard with the cheeky swallowtail at the back. Little nod to a wave with his sort of antenna. I like that. I really enjoyed this little addition, which was like the leash plug that is also the TV socket. So I thought that was really cool and really fun. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to steal the colours on my current branding and try and incorporate that colour palette into this logo. I really liked the turquoise colour. That's the thing that initially drew me in. I then tried a reverse version of it. I couldn't decide, and I haven't decided yet, the whites of the eyes. On this one, he's got fully solid black eyes, and on this one, I put the whites of the eyes in. Let me know what you think. I wanted to make some supporting graphics and icons that could be used in patterns. It could be used as a favicon. Maybe eventually it could be incorporated into a responsive design so that when the logo has to shrink for different applications, one of the smallest versions could be this little TV. Spent a lot less time, as you can tell, on it. It was a very quick sketch because in this use case I'm purely using it to develop a pattern to be able to present the logo on top of. So I did this little TV, the star, not star, the sun, a bit of a cool sun with some googly eyes, this little wave, and took his surfboard and made his surfboard so that I could develop a bit of a pattern to give me a nice little background to present the logo on.